What the heck? That was the quickest red light I've ever been through. What's up, guys? Dominator Axel here. Oh, man.
I'm Lindsay Daniels.
I don't know how to do intros. We're on our way to Washington, D.C., and I managed to get invites to the Nintendo Switch preview tour. Apparently, they were sending out invites to people who are fans of their Facebook page or whatever, and I happen to be one of the, I think, 500 people that were able to get on that list. So what actually is going on is there is a public access tour of the Nintendo Switch that is happening tomorrow morning at, I believe, 7 or 9 a.m. I forgot which time, but this is the day before that, and it's at 7 p.m. instead of an all-day event. So, from what I can tell, we're going to be guided into the building for a 3-hour tour of all of the launch games that are coming out for the system, and also some of the games that aren't necessarily coming out straight at launch, but stuff that will be available later in this year, including, I believe, a preview of Super Mario Odyssey, which is coming out this holiday, and anything else probably before that from some third-party developers. I don't know who's actually going to be represented there, but I guess we'll see. There's one other location before the New York the first day of this preview tour, whatever you call it, and it was in Toronto, Canada, and there was only one person that really posted a lot of information of it online, so I'll try to glean whatever I can from the event. It's probably just going to be a swash. I don't know. There's going to be probably a lot of emotions flying around, or a lot of people are probably going to be really excited, and I'm probably going to be really excited, and it might be kind of weird, and I might not be able to take a lot of things logically. I'm going to try to, but I'll probably talk about it after the fact, because during the entire traffic in Northern Virginia sucks too. But probably most of the logical information you're going to get is after the actual event. Obviously, even though my wife is reluctantly coming with me.
I'm not reluctantly. I'm okay with going.
She's coming with me, so she'll be able to hopefully she'll help with the experience with some of the multiplayer games as well. One of the ones I'm really excited for is. That's the great part about this is we're all going to be bad because we've never played this before. So I'm not going to know what to do at all, and I'm probably not going to be able to play anything very well.
But I mean, honestly, it's going to be fun because why would you go by yourself? It's kind of awkward.
Yeah, so she'll probably help film things.
Yeah, I will.
And help me out with the multiplayer games and probably give a second perspective.
And give a shout out to all my pairs. No, I'm
all
kidding.
my pairs.
Make sure my Metro card's ready. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Okay, so I'm going to do my best to get down to the nitty-gritty of how this preview tour went and what my actual thoughts are, and I'm going to do my best not to include information that's already been presented to everybody, which is a lot of information, but it's kind of inevitable that I'm going to probably repeat some facts that a lot of people already know about the system, and there wasn't much new information that I didn't know when I actually went to this tour. I just got the actual feel of the system and got to see and play it, which was the whole point of going. So in this clip, I'm playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which comes out in March. With the launch of the system on March 3rd of 2017. The volunteers or employees there at the Zelda booths were telling people that if we were going to record gameplay, to have at least an over-the-shoulder view. Not necessarily an obstructed view, but at least knowing that there's something else in the display and not recording purely the screen. So that's why you kind of see my shoulder come in a couple of times. And my wife was also talking with one of the commentators beforehand, so the camera may be off-centered for a little bit, but all of the footage that you've seen in this game is the exact same that you'll usually see if you're playing a preview version of Breath of the Wild. So all the videos that IGN have and everything else like that, it's going to have the exact same footage that this does. There is a cutscene, I believe, around 10 minutes that has not been seen before, unless I'm wrong. I just haven't probably seen it before. But it's one of the Guardians rising up into the Great Plateau Tower, I believe is what it's called. It pretty much played as expected. There weren't any strange frame rate drops like some people were claiming, at least in my opinion. The only thing I was thinking of was when you were running through Blades of Grass. That's apparently the only bug that people are thinking actually exists in the game, but I didn't really experience anything like that that was, I guess, too bad or super noticeable to me. Went and talked to the old man, picked up a stick, a few weapons, defeated a Bokoblin. I was going to go to the chapel, but I didn't do that. I went a different direction just because I wanted to see more of the world or see if I could discover something that other people hadn't, and I probably didn't, but that's all good. I was wearing headphones that were slightly noise canceling, so I was able to hear some of the sound design, which was incredible, and I'm really looking forward to actually hearing everything that I'll be able to hear at home in the next month or so. So it'll be a really good time. I'm excited for this game. This is the main reason why I bought the Nintendo Switch in general, was for this game. So all the other stuff is just icing on the cake. The claims that the commentator was making to me was that the game does hold over 80 hours of gameplay, which I definitely believe. And the fact that the world is 12 times as big as Skyward Sword's world. The question I did ask him was, does that include the entire sky? Because the sky in Skyward Sword, I'll be honest, wasn't really much of a world. It was more of just kind of an empty space with a few enemies and rupees. I mean, I'll be honest, I think that Wind Waker's ocean, it was a little more involved than Skyward Sword Sky was. And that was probably just because of the limitations of the Wii hardware-wise that was keeping that from happening. So it's not necessarily something I would fault, but it's definitely one of the problems that the game has. If you're wondering, most of the footage that I actually got for the preview tour was of Breath of the Wild. Everything else that we played was actually mostly multiplayer games. So my wife was able to join in with me on a lot of those, and she'll, if she wants to join in on this commentary, she could probably give a couple of words from someone that doesn't play a lot of video games. So after Breath of the Wild, we made our way over to Snipper Clips, which in my opinion was it's my guess for Game of the Year besides Breath of the Wild. It looks like the concept itself is really fun. It was totally worth the time that we spent playing it. We only got to do the first 3 puzzles, just like the Nintendo Treehouse release date video. So the one with the basketball, the one with like the pencil eraser or something like that. It almost exceeded my expectations, but I had pretty high expectations for it already, given the fact that it's just a great concept. Watch the Treehouse video if you really want to see those levels in action. It's totally worth the time, and it was a lot of fun. I don't know whether you can play that game in docked mode. I was really curious about that, but I don't think they didn't have docks available. It was in tabletop mode strictly with the system plugged in through the USB Type-C port. Did you have anything you wanted to say about it?
When you're playing with someone, because it's like I think it's just a 2-person.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's expand. Oh no, actually, I heard it's expandable to 4 players.
Okay, well, Alex and I were playing, obviously, and you have to be a team and work together. It was really fun because I'm not really good with video games, so I kept falling off of him when I was on top of him. We were doing the one basketball
that was probably the hardest one.
But it was really fun because if you actually listen to each other and you have someone kind of, I guess you guys could both have your opinions, but I kind of just listened to him and we worked together and it was really fun. We did we actually beat all of the levels that we were able to play. I really enjoyed it. I think it would be fun to do it at home when you're chilling, and I would definitely play it like a lot more. I wish I could have played longer.
Yeah, I know. It was really fun. Like we finished the puzzles, I think. I don't know how long it took for us, but like we did them pretty quickly. There were people that were sitting there for, I believe, like 20 or 25 minutes trying to solve all of them, and we got them, I think, in around 15 minutes. So if you're communicating, the process goes much smoother, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like the Jackbox Party Pack, which is also coming to the Switch, and I'm also excited about that. We went and checked out Super Bomberman R, which is, you play it more like a typical Bomberman game, like the over-the-top perspective with a grid formation. And the only other Bomberman games I've really played are the first couple Bomberman games that came out, I believe, on the SNES or the NES. Those are closer to what Super Bomberman R seems to be trying to be about. But the one I played the most was Bomberman 64, and that was a full 3D Bomberman game, and the grid style play was not there at all. It was, you could shoot bombs diagonally, you could do whatever you wanted really with that. So it was kind of nice having a limited area where you kind of had to break your way out of the grid so that you could go after people. Lindsay also tried playing this game. She's never played Bomberman before, so the fact that she actually managed to win a round was pretty crazy. You know, someone who's never picked up Bomberman and can pick it up and play it relatively easily. That's pretty awesome. So I believe when you die, you're sliding across the edge of the stage trying to throw a bomb at other people to get your way back into the game. Was kind of cool. I don't know whether that's actually a feature in any of the other Bomberman games, but it was definitely a blast. I really enjoyed that. I played that game both with the Joy-Con facing sideways and with the Nintendo Pro Controller. After Bomberman, we went and I believe we tried out 1-2 Switch was the next one we went in and played. And we played both the quick draw game, and then we also played I believe it was called a ball count game. It was amazing. It proved to me that HD Rumble is definitely something that is it's definitely a little bit more than just, I could say that HD Rumble is more similar to the iPhone 7's haptic feedback for their home button. Except it's a little bit fancier than that, at least from what I can tell. Quick draw, you have to make sure that your controller is facing down when you start the match, because it won't detect the motion of you raising the gun properly unless you start that way. But it's pretty cool that it can detect an angle. A lot of the technology probably put into that feature is it's probably very similar to Wii Motion Plus. I watched a couple of other people play it along with Linz and I. But the ball count game was when things started to, really heat up, and I was able to really figure out what HD Rumble was all about. So you were pretending that your Joy-Con was a wooden box with a couple of glass balls on the inside, and you had to tilt the Joy-Con controller from the left to the right and feel the glass balls hit the edge of the box. And you were feeling that on the left and the right sides of the Joy-Con as you were tilting the device. And it was a really weird feeling. So I was able to tilt it slowly and think, okay, there's two balls in this box, because I distinctly felt two impacts on the left-hand side of the Joy-Con as I was tilting it. And I was tilting it slowly so that I could see if I could get the balls to hit separately instead of together and make it more confusing. So I guessed 2. I placed my Joy-Con down on the table. Lindsay then guessed 3 and placed her Joy-Con down on the table. And I guessed correctly it being 2, because I distinctly felt 2 balls rolling around inside of that wooden container, because that HD Rumble feature, it seems to actually work. I don't know whether you're going to be able to feel weight in the controller or anything crazy like that. And I've heard that there are some games in 1-2 Switch that use that feature. I'm really curious to see how that works. But as far as like detecting motion in certain portions of the controller, strictly left and right, that seemed to work really well, and I was able to tell. So that's pretty incredible that they're putting that into a controller. Now I kind of understand as to why the Joy-Con are going to be so expensive separately. Splatoon 2 specifically, it was kind of a head turner for me. I initially had bought the first Splatoon game for the Wii U, thinking that I was going to be able to play local multiplayer, like a turf war, like something that was actually the full game with Lindsay and maybe with a couple of other people online. That is not the case. Local multiplayer in the first Splatoon game was strictly, I think, a balloon pop challenge and some other things like that. It wasn't a turf war because it was one-on-one. I was thinking you were going to be able to just enable bots and have an actual 4-on-4 match just with 2 people playing against each other. So that kind of disappointed me, and I wasn't sure as to whether I was actually going to play the online mode very much, so I ended up returning it. In this new Splatoon game, apparently you are able to do a local co-op multiplayer turf war, if that makes any sense. I believe it was with up to 4 people. I asked one of the representatives there, and she did get an answer for me, and I believe she did tell me that you're going to be able to play with 4 people, local multiplayer turf war. I don't know whether that adds bots. I'm not sure whether you need to play on separate screens or have different Switch systems, whatever else you need to do. She did confirm for me that the 8 systems that were hooked up in this turf war match were all being used by separate people, and that it was all interconnected single match. So that's pretty incredible. If you have managed to have 8 people that all have Switch systems, you could all play a turf war in Splatoon with separate displays, and that could also be in docked mode, which is pretty incredible. There were 8 1080p displays running Splatoon 2 with a single multiplayer turf war match. It was pretty much seamless. Everybody was no one was having issues actually connecting to the match or anything else like that. It didn't feel like an online match. It felt like a local multiplayer match. That in itself was pretty incredible to me and kind of turned me around to that game, and I'm thinking about picking it up probably after I beat Zelda or after we beat Snipperclips, because the multiplayer experience was really good. And so were the gyroscope controls on the Pro Controller. It was totally worth it. I don't know whether you're going to be able to control Splatoon 2 with the Joy-Con or not, but I don't think it would be as great of an experience unless you had a Pro Controller with you. Really good game, really great experience. I had a really good time playing that. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, to be specific, was a big part of the presentation. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was being played in 3 separate forms all the way across the left and right sides of center stage. There was like kind of an airplane setup where you had a couple rows of 2 seats like you were in an economy coach, and they had the trays from the preceding seats in front of you pulled up with Joy-Con and the Nintendo Switch in tabletop mode. And then on the right-hand side of the stage, you had a Mario Diner setup where you guys were just sitting in a diner with 4 different Switch systems connected at once, playing in handheld mode with the Joy-Cons attached to the left and right side. We played both of those. The one that we did miss was battle mode, and that was kind of a way to show off the use of the balloon match and some other things. I did want to try that out. I played a lot of Mario Kart 64 as a kid. I really enjoyed that battle mode a lot. And I'm hoping that with this new version of Mario Kart 8, they bring it back and it's similar in experience, but I'm not sure. The reason why we weren't able to get to that booth was because there were only 2 people allowed to try out that battle mode at a time, and it was just filled the entire time. Even though we went the night before, it was great. It wasn't like too crowded. I can't imagine what it's like today. There's probably going to be a lot of people. It's going to be probably difficult to play everything you're looking to play. The only 2 things I really missed out on were the Mario Kart 8 battle mode and ARMS, which I don't know how I feel about ARMS. I'm not sure yet. I'm not really big into fighting games that aren't Smash Bros. So I guess we'll just see what happens with that game, how well it does, if there's any kind of competitive matches going on, because I do like watching that stuff. We went into the tabletop mode airplane booth and played together with the 2 Joy-Cons, and they did not have the Joy-Con strap, I believe, for this presentation. They did have it for 1-2 Switch. It was really fun. I don't know how uncomfortable I'm going to get if I end up playing like we played an entire Grand Prix match, and the Joy-Con is pretty comfortable to hold in that position playing Mario Kart. The left and right Joy-Con actually do not feel much different as far as comfort level goes. Reason being, even though the joystick is in the center on the right Joy-Con, you do adjust relatively quickly. I have larger hands. My fingers are pretty long as well. My thumb coming over to the center of the Joy-Con just to use the joystick is fine. My wife also has hands that are kind of similar to mine. She just has smaller palms than me, but she didn't have a problem with using the right Joy-Con either. She managed to be able to use both the right and the left without much of a difference in comfort level. We made our way over to the Mario Diner section of the Mario Kart 8, I guess, booth, if you could call it that. It was more of an expanse. It was I would say, a decent fifth of the entire Switch preview tour. But we went over to the multiplayer multi-Switch console handheld mode demo, and we did another Grand Prix match, but with 2 other folks. We sat with 4 different Switch consoles in handheld mode, and they were playing locally as well. Just the fact that both this and the Splatoon match were both running almost seamlessly does lead me to the fact that the local multiplayer aspect of this is going to work without Wi-Fi. And it totally makes sense given also the commercials and all the ads. The places that they were playing doesn't make sense that they would have Wi-Fi. So it's a really great concept. It's one of the things I might even be most excited for, is if someone has a Switch console and then you also have one, and you happen to have the same game, you won't have a problem playing multiplayer locally with multiple displays. Plus the fact that every single Switch console comes with 2 Joy-Cons, so if you were, say, going to play something with just a Joy-Con in your hand, you could already have 4 people playing together with just 2 Switch consoles. It's pretty great. It's a great idea. And it's really cool that all the first-party IPs are already taking advantage of this feature. I hope it's a decent lead on for all of the third-party developers out there to start taking advantage of the different features that the Switch has. The handheld mode Mario Kart 8 demo was obviously great. Both the Joy-Con on the left and right-hand sides provide the vibration functionality, so the actual tablet doesn't vibrate at all. All the technology is used in the HD Rumble on both sides of the system. When you start the Mario Kart 8 race, you can feel both the left and right Joy-Con vibrating, which is really cool. So after Mario Kart 8, we made our way over to... There was a Super Mario Odyssey, like a place where you could take pictures and then a video of the actual trailer. It's kind of like how it was in the New York event. Not much different there. It was just kind of saying that it's coming in holiday 2017, and I'm kind of excited for that game. It looks kind of like an extension of 3D World, but with the whole single-player aspect, like back in Mario Sunshine, and I hope they bring some stuff back from those games, because I miss Shine Sprites, man. I want them back. There was a couple of other games that I did play by myself. I played Has Been Heroes towards the end of the night, and that is it's like a lane-based roguelike RPG kind of thing. For some reason, it feels like Plants vs. Zombies to me, because the enemies are coming up gradually, and you have to defeat them before they start dealing damage to you. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, actually. It was pretty complex and really heady, so I had to kind of really focus to actually get my way through some of it. But once I started getting used to kind of the lane-based combat that they had in it and all the specifics, it was a fun game, and it might be actually worth my time if I really wanted to get into it. Yeah, Has Been Heroes was a really good game. The concept itself is pretty unique. I'm glad they're bringing it. I don't know whether it's a launch title or not, but it was a good time. We also went over and played Puyo Puyo Tetris. Lindsay and I played together. We only played the Tetris section, so there's nothing really unique I could really tell you about it, but from what I could tell, there really wasn't that much unique about it. It was Tetris and Puyo Puyo combined. It's a mashup where you can choose to either play Tetris or Puyo Puyo, or a mix of the two. But either way, yeah, it was a really good game, really colorful. Given that it's a discounted price from the full $60 that you would pay for a normal Nintendo Switch game, it might be worth picking up if you dig playing Tetris both at home and on the go. It's something where you could kind of pull off the whole local multiplayer thing while you're sitting on the couch, or you could just pull off local multiplayer while you're out with friends or whatever else. So yeah, I don't know. If you already have like a copy of Tetris DS or something like that, it's probably not worth getting. But if you don't have Tetris anywhere else, yeah, pick it up. It's totally worth it. I also played Fast RMX, which is the sequel to Fast Racing Neo on the Wii U. It's kind of like a F-Zero successor, where it's also a lot like Extreme G, which I did play a lot of. So I did really enjoy that. Not much different about Fast RMX than Fast Racing Neo, at least from what I could tell. There were probably a couple other power-ups that you could use. And the races that I did use, actually, I don't think had any certain power-ups. You were just changing colors to match the boost panels that were coming up. And then you also had a ability where if you were hitting a boost panel, you could actually fly up in the air for a brief amount of time. So, but other than that, it was pretty much Fast Racing Neo. It was a really good game. It looked like it was running at 60 frames per second at 1080p. It was fantastic, especially playing with the Pro Controller. I don't think that I played anything else, though. We did not play Sonic Mania. It's probably just... It looked like it was just a compilation of the first 3 Sonic games and a couple of other things. I think Sonic Generations was on there too, but I'm not sure. So I guess I'll just start with the Joy-Con controllers themselves. I did not play with 2 of them separately. I played with one of them, but not both. But I would assume that it would be probably similar and relatively relaxing to do. But both the Joy-Con L and R kind of feel like if you were holding the 2 ends of a new Nintendo 3DS XL specifically. Reason being that the buttons, the way the kind of feedback you get from pressing them is literally the exact same as a new Nintendo 3DS XL. I have the Galaxy variant. It feels pretty much the exact same way. So it's kind of like if you were holding the 2 ends of a new Nintendo 3DS XL without the glossy finish on the bottom. So you're not getting, fingerprints all over it or anything. And obviously you're getting a full-size joystick. The joystick on the Joy-Con, it's pretty much the real thing. It's a full-on joystick. The one on the Pro Controller, I'll admit, feels a lot sturdier than the ones on the Joy-Con, but that doesn't detract from the fact that the control stick on both of the Joy-Con are full joysticks that you can press into and do everything you wanted to do with them. It's pretty great. The plus and minus buttons are actually relatively easy to press. They're a lot easier to press, you could say, than the Wii Remote's plus and minus buttons, because they're not recessed. They're actually like embossed over the top of the controller. So I was using those to, pause the game, access my inventory in Breath of the Wild, and they were relatively easy to get to when you're using the Joy-Con grip. So nothing about the Joy-Con really kept me from playing the game. I just think that the Pro Controller is actually just a tad more comfortable. The Joy-Con grip is still plenty comfortable, and I'd probably be able to sit and play with the Joy-Con grip for several hours without a problem. But if I really wanted like bigger buttons, something that's kind of easier for my hands to fiddle around with, the Switch Pro Controller is definitely what you're going to want to go for. And I'm also not sure whether the Joy-Con grip that I was given was a charge grip or not. It's not really that it mattered for the presentation itself. I was really soaked into Breath of the Wild. I wasn't able to actually look and see if there was a USB Type-C charge port at the end of it. But either way, the grips themselves, I'm pretty sure, are actually identical between a charge grip and the regular grip accessory as far as aesthetics go. So without the Joy-Con strap, I experienced this mostly in the Mario Kart 8 demo in tabletop mode. It's relatively comfortable. It's just the SL and SR buttons are obviously, you kind of have to arch over the top of the Joy-Con to actually access it. And it's a relatively small button, so you have to kind of feel it out and then keep your finger there if you're looking to use it. But they were surprisingly more comfortable than I thought they would be. The Joy-Con are definitely a little bit smaller than I actually thought they were. It didn't really get in the way of me actually having a comfortable experience as far as playing Mario Kart 8 was concerned. And you were able to use the gyroscope controls on the Joy-Con with Mario Kart 8 if you wanted to. But I wasn't using that. I was using the joystick to steer. But it appeared that both of those options were enabled in the demo mode. So you were kind of able to steer with the gyroscope and then get like additional steering with the joystick. But there's probably settings in the full version that'll allow for you to turn all that off if you strictly just wanted to use the joystick or the motion controls, one of the two. The Joy-Con, as far as being comfortable in someone that has, I guess, wiry hands, if you could call it that. My palm's relatively big too, but if I was going to play with just a Joy-Con for hours, though, it probably would start getting a little bit uncomfortable. I would much rather have the Joy-Con strap accessory attached if I was looking to have a little bit more added comfort, or I would just use a Pro Controller for something like that, which I'm sure a lot of the games are also compatible with. So the Joy-Con strap I used in 1-2 Switch. It definitely added a lot of comfort to the SL and SR buttons, made it feel more like a full controller of sorts, not necessarily in size, but in function. And that's pretty much all I have on that. The Joy-Con were definitely kind of what I expected, but also slightly more than what I expected, and slightly less in some places. It was smaller than I expected, but the HD Rumble kind of convinced me that was legitimately something that they were working on for a while, and that it was actually usable, at least in 1-2 Switch. And maybe it'll be used in other games, I'm not sure. It seems like the HD Rumble may possibly just kind of be a gimmick, and that I'm thinking that in the future, third-party developers will either just use it as a gimmick or just won't use it at all. But I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes. The Nintendo Switch Pro Controller was a head turner for me. I don't think I was kind of surprised that it was going to be a head turner for me. I have not pre-ordered one because I didn't feel like I was going to need it right away, but now thinking about the fact that I'll be playing Breath of the Wild using the Joy-Con grip primarily, I'm going to be able to use the Joy-Con grip accessory and probably play it for a few hours without a problem. But the Pro Controller has a higher level of comfort than the Joy-Con grip does. Not by much, but definitely by a good bit, especially when it comes to the face buttons and the triggers. If you would think about the Joy-Con triggers, it's kind of like if you took a new Nintendo 3DS and added enough depth to add a second R button. That's pretty much kind of how I would explain it. And it was it definitely works for what it is. Both of those buttons seem to actually be buttons, like they click into place, in and out of place. It's great that they kind of actually have that instead of it just being like a touch button or something like that. But the Switch Pro Controller has full on, triggers. It's a legitimate controller. So if anyone needs their hands on something that's actually a traditional controller, the Switch Pro Controller is definitely the way to go. And obviously, third parties are probably going to be making Switch Pro controllers that are similar. It's just that the added gyroscope ability that I used in Splatoon 2, everything else that they added ended up making it probably worth the $60 or however much I'm actually going to be spending on that controller. And the last thing I was going to talk about were the different play configurations that you could do. Tabletop mode, handheld mode, docked mode, right? All three of those. And all three of them were relatively seamless. I did not have any issues. Breath of the Wild was the only game that I was able to actually attempt different configurations for. You'll see that in the video, that I go from docked mode to handheld mode, and then I put that back into the dock, take the Joy-Con out, and put them onto the Joy-Con grip again. So as soon as you take that switch out of the dock, it's right in handheld mode right off the bat. As soon as the Joy-Con are connected, the screen is on, and you're ready to play. The actual handheld mode itself doesn't feel super heavy. It feels better than a gamepad, I'll definitely say that. The only thing I may actually miss from the gamepad is the way the grip on the left and right hand sides of the gamepad kind of fit around your hands. Like it's a little bit thicker. It's obviously thicker than the Joy-Con are. Other than that, the comfort level was pretty much the same. There was also a metal frame, like a security frame, attached to the back of the Switch, so I wasn't able to really feel how heavy it really was, but it was obviously a little bit heavier than it actually should be. But even then, it didn't feel like it was going to really wear down on me or anything, and probably without those accessories, it's probably going to be fine for on the road. If you're playing in handheld mode. Tabletop mode in Mario Kart 8 obviously was great. The two of us were able to both look at that 6.2-inch 720p display without any issues, actually. I was kind of able to see all the details that I needed to see when it came to what my items were, where I could shoot to. Like shoot a green shell, for example, to actually hit someone. The details in that screen, 720p seems to be pretty feasible for what they're going for. And I'm quite sure that it lowered the cost as well. Given the fact that the CPU probably, I think they've confirmed this, that the CPU does underclock itself when it's not docked, is probably why they chose a 720p display. Obviously, if you were running a 1080p with a underclocked CPU, you're just going to get shoddier performance as opposed to when you had it in the dock. And I believe they also confirmed that the dock does enhance the system's either graphical or CPU power capabilities by a fraction. So I totally understand why they went with that actual display resolution, and it does work well as far as a multiplayer game, having multiple people look at the screen. Snipper Clips is also a great example of that, where two people were playing and looking at the screen using Joy-Con to figure out what to do. It was all a pretty positive experience. I wasn't able to really check how flimsy the kickstand is on the Nintendo Switch, but if it was able to hold up, on a table with people going in and out and maybe like accidentally bumping the table or something, or sliding their chair in too far, if they was able to pull that off for a full day, or whether they had to adjust it or not, I'm pretty confident that it'll probably be fine on something like that, as long as you're not like overly tilting. Like say you were in a car and you had a tray table, like some cars I guess have that, maybe like a Chrysler Town and Country vans or something. If you are going over a crazy hill, you probably won't have issues with the Switch like sliding around unless you're actually doing that. I don't know whether there's any news of actually like a car dock coming out, something where you could like slide the Switch in tabletop mode. You would slide it into like say the back of someone's headrest or something like that. That would probably be the optimal way to play if you're going to go on a long car trip or something. That's probably a good way to do it, but it was also in the commercial. I'm hoping they actually do that. It sounds like a great idea. A plane, you would probably be fine. A train, you would also probably be fine. It's not like trains go over crazy hills or anything like that all the time. I appreciate you guys listening to me ramble about the Nintendo Switch. I don't know why I ramble about things like this, but apparently it's something I'm excited about. So, you probably won't be hearing too much more from me. You might actually get an unboxing video later when I actually get the Switch in my hands, but there's going to be more unboxing videos that are probably going to be way better than mine, and they probably will come out sooner as well, since I'm getting my Switch possibly a week after launch, but we'll see. I hope you all have a great day. Bye.